All right, y'all, we are back with another video. I definitely had to bring y'all this because it seemed like the Supreme Court is imploding right now, and Justice Alito just dropped a bombshell on how the other Supreme Court justices pretty much dropped the news midnight to pretty much rule against President Trump deporting illegal aliens. I cannot believe that now we got the Supreme Court is siding with illegal aliens over the American people. That right there is just insane to me. It don't make any sense at all. It's enough that we got these other corrupt judges that Chuck Schumer said that the Democrats done install just to rule against Donald Trump. And not only that, we got Representative Brandon Gibbs announced that he has filed articles of impeachment against activist Judge Boasberg for interfering with Donald Trump's deportations. He said he filed articles of impeachment against Judge Boasberg, who demanded that President Trump turn a plan around and bring them back to the United States. So it just goes to show you that these judges, they just don't care about the American people. You got these Democrats that is flying to El Salvador to meet with an illegal alien who beat his wife multiple times. It just don't make any sense at all. But let's go ahead and dive straight into this video, and you're going to see Justice Alito pretty much expose the rest of the justice members. And like I said, it was only Justice Alito and Justice Clarence Thomas that pretty much sided with President Trump. The other ones, they sided with the Democrats, which don't make no sense at all. So let's go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. That way you don't miss out on anything. And shout out to the ones who always stay to the end, who always let me know in the comment section that they did watch the entire video. I appreciate all of you that do that because it really helps get the video out there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight into this video real quick, y'all. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, right this very moment, there's pretty much a full-scale civil war breaking out inside of the United States Supreme Court, and no, I'm not joking. Right this very moment, a full-blown ideological meltdown is happening because of the Supreme Court's late-night decision to block President Trump's ability to deport violent illegal immigrants.
That's crazy.
And to give you all a sense of just how heated things have gotten inside of the Supreme Court, Justice Alito, one of the only two justices who voted in favor of President Trump's lawful use of the Alien Enemies Act, just released what might be the most scathing Supreme Court dissent in recent American history. Here's what he had to say. In sum, literally in the middle of the night, the court issued unprecedented and legally questionable relief without giving the lower courts a chance to rule, without hearing from the opposing party, within 8 hours of receiving the application.
That just go to show you that they didn't even get President Trump enough time to say anything, to provide any evidence. That goes to show you that George Soros and the Democrats got something to do with this, especially when you don't even give President Trump a chance to even say anything or prevent any evidence and stuff like that. So shout out to Justice Alito, because him and Clarence Thomas are like the only two over there that's standing up and believing what President Trump and the American people believe in, and that's getting these illegal aliens out of here. So this is the message right here that he pretty much leaked to President Trump from Justice Alito. So let's keep it going, y'all.
And legally questionable relief without giving the lower courts a chance to rule, without hearing from the opposing party within 8 hours of receiving the application, with dubious factual support for its order, and without providing any explanation for its order. I refused to join the court's order because we had no good reason to think that, under the circumstances, issuing an order at midnight was necessary or appropriate. Translation: Supreme Court Justice Alito is saying that the Supreme Court just set a midnight fire to its own credibility.
Yep.
Justice Alito is absolutely blasting the other Supreme Court justices for tossing out due process not for illegal immigrants, but for the sitting president of the United States of America. And you know what? Supreme Court Justice Alito is absolutely right. This wasn't just a bad decision, it was a political stunt.
Yep,
President
that's what
Trump
it was.
Wasn't even given time to present his case before the Supreme Court dropped the hammer.
And that's what I was just saying. They didn't give him enough time to provide any evidence. They did it at midnight. And we already know that Justice Roberts ain't no good. George Soros allegedly paying him off. So we see what Justice Roberts been doing. He was just another phony fake that act like he really supported Donald Trump when he really don't. He really support the Democrats. Because I bet you any of these justices who ruled against President Trump, they would not let them illegal aliens stay with them or on their street. If them illegal aliens was on their street, I guarantee you every last one of them will move. I guarantee you that.
Judicial ambush, plain and simple. And I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, here's the real cost of this hasty and premature Supreme Court decision. Because of this decision, national security has now been compromised. Because this wasn't just a procedural dispute, no, this was about stopping the deportation of dangerous foreign nationals, some of whom are suspected affiliates of the Tren de Aragua cartel terrorist organization.
Mm-hmm.
This Supreme Court ruling ultimately does nothing other than shield and protect violent Venezuelan gangbangers that shouldn't even be in the country in the first place. The same court, by the way, that sat quietly for years as tens of millions of illegal immigrant invaders crossed the border is now jumping out of its seat to stop President Trump from deporting cartel-linked gang members.
That's what I was going to say. Where was the Supreme Court when Joe Biden was letting these illegal aliens come across the border illegally? When that was coming across the border illegally, what was the Supreme Court then? I didn't see anybody from the Supreme Court stand up and say, no, we're going to stop this. So President Trump is sending illegal aliens back to their country because they are here illegally. And you got Democrats running around here talking about, oh, they deserve due process. Due process went out the window when they came here illegally. You come here illegally, you don't have no due process. So it just don't make any sense at all.
And you know what? Here's the kicker. According to CNN's own polling, 56% of Americans support President Trump's plan to deport every illegal immigrant in the country.
Yep.
That means that this Supreme Court ruling doesn't just defy national security, it ultimately defies the will of the American people.
Yep.
This Supreme Court ruling is nothing other than judicial overreach at the highest level. This court, which is supposed to be a neutral interpreter of the law, is now playing part-time activist and full-time presidential obstructionist. And as you saw, Justice Alito did not mince his words. He said the majority's ruling had, quote, no good reason for happening when it did. There were no urgent deportations scheduled, no imminent threat that justified their 1 a.m. ruling. This was political 100%.
Exactly. We all know that.
You know what? Let's be very clear about what this actually means. The Supreme Court prioritized the rights of foreign criminals over the safety of American families.
I've said this plenty of time is that all these Democrats that's fighting for these illegal aliens, as soon as they let these illegal aliens back into the United States and these illegal aliens start taking out innocent U.S. citizens like they've been doing, you know who the Democrats going to blame for that? Donald Trump. They're going to try to use it against him in the 2028 campaign. Oh, look what President Trump did. He lied about saying he going to get illegal aliens out of here. But look, these illegal aliens just took out this person. They took out that person. The President Trump didn't do anything. That's what they want to be able to say. They want to be able to blame it on Donald Trump, yet they fight for these illegal aliens. But soon as they do something that they don't supposed to do, they're going to blame President Trump for it in the Trump administration. That's exactly what they're going to do. So it's just funny to see them fighting for illegal aliens. That's the reason why I said there's no way they're going to win in 2028. All J.D. Vance have to do is show the footage of look at them flying to El Salvador for illegal aliens. They ain't flying nowhere to go see a U.S. citizen or saying a U.S. citizen need to come back. They are fighting for illegal aliens, fighting for a man who beat his wife.
What?
Fighting for a man who beat his wife and then flew over there, was trying to use taxpayer dollars to go over there. AOC, all of them are fighting for illegal aliens. Democrats have just been exposed.
That is the real headline amongst all of this. Here's the truth. The Alien Enemies Act is an existing law. It gives the president broad authority to remove threats from foreign nations in times of national danger. It has been used by past presidents on numerous occasions, and it is 100% constitutional.
Yep.
But apparently, if the president invoking the act happens to be President Trump, then the law doesn't really matter anymore.
They don't care.
You know what? Let me ask you all a question. Where was the Supreme Court when Joe Biden and the Democrats allowed 20 million illegal invaders to pour into our country across the southern border?
I literally just said that a few minutes ago. Where was the Supreme Court when Joe Biden had that border open and all these illegal aliens were just coming through there and wasn't nothing being done about it? You ain't see the Supreme Court. You ain't see no judges. You ain't see what was Boasberg then. You ain't see none of them. But now Donald Trump is doing what the American people voted for, what they wanted him to do, and you got judges who didn't get, like the American people didn't vote for these judges. So you tell me a judge can override what the president is doing. That is insane. That shouldn't be able to happen. Because now you're going to get Democrats who can't stop President Trump. So their next option is, let's use these judges. Let's put some money in these judges' pocket just to rule against Donald Trump. Because Chuck Schumer already said that they installed over 230-some judges just to rule against Donald Trump. He said it on TV.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They did nothing. They were asleep at the wheel.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, here's the most infuriating part about all of this. The progressive left is now screaming that every single one of these illegal immigrant invaders that President Trump wants to deport should be entitled to due process. Excuse me, every single one of these illegal immigrants already skipped due process when they chose to enter the United States illegally.
Exactly.
Here's my controversial opinion of the day. I don't think illegal immigrants deserve due process.
They don't.
None of them cared about due process when they entered the country illegally. So why should we care about giving them due process when we...
And they didn't care about due process like to what they did to like Lake and Riley and the rest of these victims. Did they care about due process then? It just, like, you don't even see these Democrats like Van Hollen. You ain't see him going to go talking to like Lake and Riley family and stuff. He ain't even talking to them. He flying all the way to El Salvador for the illegal alien who's in the country illegally, talking about where he was married, he had kids. Just because somebody is married and got kids don't mean they ain't dangerous. Like, he literally got pulled over with an MS-13 member in the car with him. He got the tattoo on his hand. I just don't get this at all, man. This is just crazy.
Seek to get rid of them. You can't break into someone's house and then demand a jury trial before they kick you out. That's not how reality works. That's not how our country works. And yet, the Democrats and the left-wing media and now the Supreme Court are all bending over backwards to protect the very people who chose to ignore our nation's laws.
Yep.
And by the way, just a quick reminder, it was the Democrats who refused to enforce our nation's federal immigration laws in the first place. It was their open border agenda that allowed this invasion to happen.
Yep.
But now that President Trump is trying to clean up the mess that they made, the courts suddenly have a problem. Now they care about procedure. Now they care about timing and due process. Folks, the absolute hypocrisy coming from the progressive left is honestly exhausting. These very same people ignored every due process, every legal precedent, and every national security warning while the country was being overrun by illegal immigrant invaders. And now that we want to get rid of them, the Democrats, the progressives, want due process for every single one of the 20 million illegal immigrants that they let into the country.
You know why? Because these Democrats want these illegal aliens to vote for them. That's what they wanted. Remember what Gavin Newsom tried to do. They want illegal aliens to be able to vote to help them get put in office, because the American people is not going to vote for Democrats. We see who they believe in. They believe in illegal aliens. They don't believe in the American people. That's why they act like they care about the illegal aliens, because they want their vote.
Give me a freaking break. But okay, ladies and gentlemen, here's the truth. Here's a little bit of positivity. Justice Alito's and Justice Clarence Thomas' dissent shows that not all hope is lost. There are still Supreme Court justices on the bench that are willing to uphold the Constitution and the rule of law. Keep in mind, as controversial as this Supreme Court ruling was, it was really just a temporary hold while the alien enemies case works its way through the lower federal courts. So what that means is that this isn't over. In fact, it's just getting started. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what right now, the America First movement is not backing down. The border will be secured, and all of these illegal immigrant invaders will be deported. Because
so there we go, right there. Salute to Matt Morse. And this is the last clip I want to show y'all of Benny Johnson and Representative Gills pretty much saying he's going to file articles of impeachment to Judge Boasberg. Like I say, y'all check this clip out. And I'll see y'all in the next one.
Yeah, this case is now sent back to Texas, right? So they ruled that it has to be adjudicated in Texas. I don't believe that it's your district, but it certainly is your state. And so what's the take on this in Texas? I know when you walk the streets and you ask people who are in America if they want more criminal aliens here, they all say no, pretty much regardless of who they voted for. This seems like a 90-10 issue, especially when you include the wife-beating, human smuggling, and gang affiliation. And so I'm not sure I see the victory, the W here for Democrats. What do people on the ground in Texas say?
No, I don't see the W for Democrats. In fact, I think Republicans ought to be funding some of these trips. If Democrats want to go and take photo ops with members of foreign gangs, then they're welcome to do that. And we'll use that in the next election cycle because they are showing us who they are. Remember, we talk about this a lot. Whenever somebody shows you who they are, whenever they tell you who they are, believe them. And this is the Democrats siding with Tren de Aragua, siding with MS-13 over and over and over again against the American people. I'm not sure this is a 90-10 issue. I think this is more like a 95-5 issue here. Everybody just about in my district here, other than the radical lunatics, want to get rid of gang members out of our country. They don't want foreign terrorists in their communities. The only people who support this are Democrat congressmen and Democrat senators. So I think that this is a clear case of the president conducting foreign policy, repelling an invasion. We've got to stand behind him. I've been fighting the courts recently. I filed articles of impeachment against radical Judge Boasberg, who demanded that the president turn a plane full of Tren de Aragua terrorists around midair and bring them back into the United States. I worked with America First Legal to file an amicus brief in that case as well. So we are pursuing this aggressively, but we have got to stand with the president here. He's doing exactly what the people told him to do, and he's being very successful.
Yeah. Texas was very successful, deporting their own immigrants and putting up their own border wall barriers, the longest contiguous border with Mexico there in Texas. It's got to be a big relief for your constituents that immigration has pretty much gone down to zero.
It's a huge relief. It's a huge relief. I mean, we really are on the front lines of the illegal immigration battle here. And remember, it's not just the drugs and the crime, the murderers and the rapists who are coming into our communities. It's also the flood of millions of illegal aliens who are straining our social services, who are filling our schools. And we wake up one day and realize our kids can't read because millions of illegal aliens have come into the country. It's our social services, our healthcare, all of these key parts that we expect from our federal government have been strained to the point of breaking over the past few years. And it's because of the illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into the country. Every American can see it. Every Texan can see it. And this is why it is so important that we not only secure the border, which President Trump did in a matter of about a month, but deport all of the illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into our country. We've got to take our country back. If one president can flood our country with illegal aliens, with impunity, with no process, no vetting, no nothing, and a future president cannot deport them, then we don't have a country anymore. We've lost our sovereignty. We've lost it permanently. And the American people have no say in who is allowed into their communities and who is not. And that is wrong. And that's why we've got to put the pedal to the floor here and support the president.